You said that you are the education committee of the Buddhist Association. Can you a little bit brief what this committee is doing? What are your functions? Can you briefly enlighten me?
Basically, Your Eminence, we have two schools, Your Eminence, under the aegis of Ladakh Buddhist Association.
Oh, you have your own schools.
Yes, mm-hmm. So we took over 1.5 years ago, Your Eminence. After coming over as the president, Your Eminence. Mm-hmm. So it's been only 2.5 years.
These schools are up to class 12?
No, Your Eminence, it's up to class 8.
8th.
The another one is up to 10th. Initially, both these schools were being run by volunteers.
I see.
Actually, one school is located at Khalsi.
So it's affiliated to some board or?
Affiliated to CBS.
CBS, okay. So then that means you are...
we have to follow CBS.
Follow the syllabus of the CBS. Okay. It is very encouraging to learn that Ladakh Buddhist Association is taking interest in education for the younger generation, and particularly you have running 2 schools at this moment. That means you can multiply them, or you can take over many more schools if your venture gets success. So that's very encouraging. Unless we take care at the school level, right from the preschool level, at very young age, it's very difficult to tackle the human growth. When the children get to the age of 8, 9, 10, then some kind of basic qualities are already set in the child. Then it is very difficult to change or to alter. So take care of the very, very young people from the side of language, from the side of way of thinking, behavior, and the recognition of the emotions. This needs to be tackled at very early stage of the child's growth. The world is now ruled by the corporates, and the system of education is more or less uniform all over the globe. Particularly the stages are almost same in every country. Primary school, middle school, higher school, then college, and so on and so forth. And it is called the mainstream. The mainstream is so powerful. All the efforts to improve the system gradually submerged into that current system, that we have to learn from our own previous efforts. Swami Dayananda was one of the person who started education program quite early stage, pre-independence. They see the danger of the new education system, and in order to protect the Indianness, the Indian basic nature, many schools, colleges are being set up. by the Arya Samaj movement, and it was very powerful. And another example is Rabindranath Tagore. He didn't set up many schools, but he set up one Shanti Niketan right from the pre-primary to the university. And he wanted to have something different system. And one of his disciples and Gandhiji collaboratively make the Navtalin system. Navtalin system has also many schools, now almost disappeared. Shri Aurobindo Ghosh, with help of mother, also started ashram schools. And these are the movements to protect, to improve the education for the younger Indian people. And later on, Jiddu Krishnamurti, he was also paying great attention for education. He evolved no competitive, no pressure, a kind of new environment. The Krishnamurti Foundation is running about 8-9 schools now, and we have something 15,000-16,000 students are involved in these schools. But gradually, they have to go through the examination, recognition, to be affiliated to some of the recognized boards. And in the final stage, there's not much apparent different. So what I'm saying is that the mainstream education system has governing the entire humanity, and confrontation with this may not be successful, but we shall have to find some way out. Well, doing the same mainstream education system, what kind of improvement, what kind of supplementary things can be added to these curriculums? I am aware that many Ladakhi small children used to be in the Krishnamurti school system. Mr. Rajesh Dalal, he passed away at young age. His wife was working in Ladakh program, Ladakh project, we call it. About 20-30 Ladakhi students. Now, I don't know whether they have returned to Ladakh or. Similarly, in the Harish Valley school, there are quite a number of Ladakhi students. They are aware of the Krishnamurti education system. Then the recent time, some of the IIT students returned from USA and settled in India. They are Indian origin, and they started a movement of de-schooling. They are not sending their children to any school. They are only taught in their own home. And this is also a new kind of experiment. But of course, that is not applicable to a larger community or society. Only few family may be able to adopt. So since you are taking interest in the education system which is prevailing in this country, so your members should study in detail what kind of this different efforts, different experiments give result, or they are completely failure, or they have done something. Aurobindo Ashram schools are still running, Krishnamurti schools are still running. Shantiniketan almost disappeared. Disappeared means completely transformed to the modern education system. There's no special things are left. And Aya Samaj is also, there's no difference between only the management is different, otherwise the education system is almost emerged into the mainstream. So we shall have to understand why all these experiments are not bringing out notable or sustainable change or result. What was the root cause of all this? The one root cause is the parents' attitude. To make their children success in the competitive world. And their mission is being tharstrupam to the children, and then they have to go through. And the other reason is that children always look to the others. Comparison and competition has been encouraged by the corporate world. So this is one kind of inevitable. All children look for the so-called success in the present world, and they do not know any other way to succeed as a human being. So, one thing which we cannot give up at this moment is we cannot give up the entirety of the modern education system which is prevailing in this country, in this world, in this country. We shall have to go through. That is our compulsion. Because we cannot evolve a complete alternative system which can substitute the functioning of the present education system. That we shall have to accept. And at the same time, we should not be completely surrender to this system. And living within this system, how we can make some supplementary programs, and also we can make some kind of improvement to the present system. As the speaker mentioned, that mindfulness is become a kind of trademark now in the West countries. This system has been developed almost every sphere, in the corporate world, in the industries, in the schools, and in the common society, some kind of mindfulness training. That's basically the immediate aim is how to manage the stress and the mental problems which are the direct product of modernity and modern way of life, and also using it in the schools. Now they are as a kind of degradation using these methods of the Dharma for just immediate stress management and also managing the labor problems, workers' struggles, and stress relief. So this also become less and less effective. Basic purpose of education is to improve the human values, to make a good individual. Good individual means an individual whose ground is based on truth and non-violence. Truth and non-violence is the basic nature of human beings. Human beings are different from many animal kingdoms or the other worlds, other realms. The basic human nature is interdependent, and they need to be depend on many others. So therefore we shall have to have a intimate and cohesive, harmonious relationship with everyone. And we have a harmonious relationship with everyone, then there will be peace, harmony and happiness, without which we cannot hope for peace or harmonious. For that, a human mindset has to be developed. And as I mentioned yesterday also, the human beings are made, all human beings are made competitors. Basically, the human beings were collaborators, cooperating each other. But now, in today's way of life, even the brothers and sisters in one family are become competitors. Comparison and competition is exploited through a system of education so that human beings can make a consumer instead of a user. So this basic thing need to be understood by the parents, understood by the teachers, and understood by the community, and by which we may able to find some supplementary system, supplementary way of improving the basic human value. Once the basic human value is re-established, then any kind of education would be suitable. Imparting knowledge is one thing, but through imparting the knowledge, how the human mindset and human quality is evolving, that shall have to be watched very carefully. So through this way, we may be able to find some solution. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama has given many new dimensions of teaching. Of course, originally it is coming from the Buddhism, but he differentiated the Buddha's teaching into three categories: the Buddhist science, and the Buddhist philosophy, and the Buddhist Dharma. Dharma is for the Buddhist people who are practicing the Dharma, who are entering into the marg of the spiritual thing. And as a Buddhist, they shall have to follow the Buddhist Dharma. And the Buddhist science and Buddhist philosophy, these are common subject, secular subject. It's not related with the Buddhist Dharma. And this can be used for improvement of human quality, human knowledge, and human understanding. Even the modern science people take much advantage from the Buddhist teaching of the Buddhist science. The dialogue between the Buddhist science and modern science have been now almost 40 years. They are evolved into an institution. The institution is named Mind and Life. And that institution is conducting the dialogue between Buddhist science and modern science twice or thrice internationally each year. And that gives many beneficial inputs for the improvement of the modern science and technology. And that is, I'm just casually saying, what I'm trying to say is the sea learning. Sea learning is the outcome of historians' teaching of the secular ethics. And ethics or human value to be imparted into the educational institutions without referring to any religious tradition. Chulu la mantimbe sangchu. As a secular person, completely materialistic, that person also need to live happily and peacefully, without any hindrance or disturbance. For that person shall have to be a basic creator, a basic ethic principles, so that he or she can relate with other people, with majority of the people harmoniously and without any confrontational approach. So this was studied and researched for a number of years in the Emory University, USA. They have a center for that, the Dalai Lama Center for Ethics. And then secular word is a little uncomfortable for the Western learners, because they mostly interpret the word secular as anti-religion or anti-spirituality. But our interpretation of secular is equality to all religion, Saradama Sambhava. That is Gandhi's interpretation of the secularism. This secular ethics is now named as C learning, social, emotional, and ethics learning. That is a set program. You might be aware of that. They demand one period in a week, the end of the week or the beginning of the week, one period. And they give teaching, 3 days or 4 days teaching, teachers training to the teachers of facilitators. And that is proved quite useful for the improvement of child behavior. And this learning is also developed in India. There's one small NGO in Merit, late Shri Bakshi, Kulbhushan Bakshi, a friend of His Holiness, have started. Then he passed away, and his daughters and sons are now taking that project that's named Ayugyan Nyais, registered body. They have built this program right from the primary school, pre-primary school to the class 8th and 9th, 10th is still they are doing. In Hindi and other Indian languages as well. They have handbooks for the teachers and they also conduct teachers' training. The schools shall have to give the expenses for the trainer who comes in the schools and the traveling expenses and local hospitality, and then they also have the books, and this is also adopted by some 300 or 400 different schools in UP and Delhi and West Bengal and many other. It also find quite suitable for the Indian children. So these two are available, and perhaps you may also interested to experiment these programs as supplementary program. Then at the same time, the relationship between teacher and students, the relationship between the teacher, parents and students, the relationship between parents and children, all these need to be observed, and then from time to time they should have a dialogue, intimate discussion. In the Krishnamurti schools, we have every month teacher-parents conference meeting, and all the parents come, all the teachers come, they sit together and they discuss the problems of the individual children as well as the whole student, and then they try to find how to resolve each different problems and how to improve the general standard of the schools. So these are available tools which are used by other people. So the Buddhist Association schools may also try these things. It's not compulsory, not necessary, but to experiment them, as since the Buddhist Association is running, looking the schools, there should be some input which is better than the usual mainstream schools. Then it is very nice you have affiliated then CBS, because CBS is an old organization, and right from the beginning they have the syllabi of Tibetan language. Now they call it Bhoti language. The name is no difference. But they have the experience to conduct, to teach and to conduct examinations in this language as well. One important point is from which grade the student should be exposed to a foreign language. Here foreign language means different language. It need not necessarily other countries' language. In India also we have so many different languages. The three language formula is a good formula which was produced by outstanding educationists. But medium of instruction and the second language and third language. More than 3 languages is also possible, but they need to be taken care of according to the availability of teacher and the capacity of the students. So important is the father tongue or the mother tongue, one's own language, to be a medium instruction. That would be excellent. But that may not be feasible in certain situation due to unavailability of textbook or unavailability of the qualified teacher. In spite of that, the medium instruction should be as near, the language should be as near as possible with one's own language. And the other language should be begin after class 4th or class 3rd, not before that. Because the child is exposed to other languages than his or her own mother tongue, then the development of mind is dependent on the vocabulary. In our Buddhist science, we say the mind goes with the word, and the thought is always created by the word, and thought cannot independently discriminate or analyze anything without the word. So the word and thought are interdependent. So we expose the children at early age to the other languages, then there's a danger of losing the originality of the person. Each person has its own originality, and that need to be developed as it is. And otherwise the person become an artificial, superimposed. So that person has then no ground. So therefore, in the education system, wherever is feasible, the second and third language should come after 4th and 5th. The basic language or medium instruction is one's own language. If not, it is possible, nearest language should be chosen, and by that way, the natural growth of child's originality is not hampered, not disturbed. And then at the end of the education, a person is Indian, the person will be developed as a true Indian. The person is Ladakhi, it will become a true Ladakhi, not an artificial Ladakhi. So that's all depend on the introduction of the words, the language, more frequently speaking, particularly in which language the individual is operating the thought process. Today many students learn in English medium school. They become very proficient in English language, and they forgot their own mother tongue. And they used to think in English language and translating it into their own language while speaking with their own people. So that is why, as I mentioned sometime before, Macaulay's idea was exactly that. Right from the childhood, the English become proficient to the person. Then he or she will think in English language, in English words. And by that way, the way of thinking is governed by the foreign language. And thereby, the originality of the person to which particular language he or she is belonging divorces from that language. That was the degradation of the personality in the right beginning. So these are few things. Then one thing I wanted to mention here is, I also spoken yesterday, the coming 100 years is very crucial for the humanity, particularly the countries which the Western people talk about, the third world. They are going through positive, negative transformations, changes drastically. It is waiting ahead, because the running of the world by the corporates only for the benefit of the economy, money, it's unsustainable way of life. So it reached to the almost saturated point, particularly from the viewpoint of ecological and environmental conditions are concerned. If something happened drastically or did something drastically, there may be some hope. Otherwise, the planet Earth will not be livable after 40, 50 years. And there will be bound to be catastrophe. And many corporates are now thinking this globe is too small for the present population. And to reduce the number of population through nuclear weapons and catastrophe of war, the so-called Third World War is also waiting ahead. And they might be able to find suitable places, some other planets. They are searching already for that. So therefore, according to the spiritual tradition, the end of world is not yet approaching. It should have more life. So therefore, it is a kind of text to the present generation, how we will confront, we will face the challenges which are imposing by the modernity. So therefore, we shall have to do whatever is possible at ourselves. His Holiness is also giving a long interview in Ladakh some 5-6 years back to a French writer. And she wrote 2 books out of this interview when His Holiness was in Ladakh. Number of hours have been spent with her. And the first book is called The New Reality. And the second book is called The calling for compassionate revolution. The new reality in calling for compassionate revolution become very popular. And the UNESCO has taken up this small book calling for compassionate revolution. His Holiness jokingly said that until now the world has seen many revolutions, and the French people are leading many revolutions. Now they should lead a different kind of revolution. Revolution not through violence or anger, a revolution through a compassionate mind. And that was made in an audio book and freely distributed to 53,000 schools, colleges, and universities all over the France and some of the neighboring countries. And from the book, The New Reality, there are many NGOs have been coming up. Some of the NGOs are called BWBW, Better We, Better World. The full sentence was Better Me, Better We, and Better World. How to make the world better, we shall have to start from oneself. Make oneself better. There's a quoting from the Gandhi, what you wish to change in the world, you have to be the change at yourself first. So from this, so they are also making some kind of academic discussions, publications, and many CEOs of the corporates are attending to this kind of discussion. So what I am trying to say is there are good indications and there are very bad indications. So now it is time to act, and particularly the Himalayan region people who are better still preserving ancient culture and spiritual heritage. And I think we have a special universal responsibility in this crucial juncture to improve oneself and lead the others and make the world a better in near future. So this is a few things which come my mind at this moment. I thought is share with you. And if you have any particular questions, if there's time, you can do. And anyhow, I appreciate your effort, and you will continue it and put your all heart to this, because education for the younger generation is the basic key for the whatever will happen in the future. Thank you. Okay. 1, 2 comments? 2 comments.
Just 2 questions. First is related to the boat, relation to boat. When Ladakh was accorded UT status, they were considering 3 options. First, to have our own boats, UT boat. Second was to affiliation with the CBSE. And also were considering third option to remain with JNK boat. In fact, our suggestion was to have our own boat. The reason being that if we have our own boat, then maybe we will evolve a policy, education policy that suits our culture, religion, ethnicity, everything. So, what in your views, your evidence would be better?
The best option is to have one's own board but that shall have to be examined the feasibility. The board means a great responsibility. You will need so many academic workers, qualified academic workers, to prepare the syllabus, to conduct the examinations, to declare the result, and to set up the examination system. And this is a huge work. And for that, I do not recommend it should be done immediately. Then there will be problems. But ultimately, you should aim for have your own board, and for that purpose, you may set up small committee or small researchers how to do it, and to find the human resource, and also to find the material resource, and then administrative setup. All this shall need to be very carefully examined. And as soon as you feel, yes, we can do this, then you should go for that. And until that, CBS is in my view, the best one.
Thank you, Rinpoche. We are from the Ladakh Buddhist Association Women Wing, and I'm also a member of the Education Committee for LBA. So as a Buddhist organization, we have a responsibility towards protection of the Buddhist community and propagation of the community. We are seeing a decrease in the population of the community. We are seeing a decrease due to the reason that first, many of the youth are not getting married. They don't want to get married even after 40 years old. Secondly, there's a big problem in the marital relationships. Marriage has become a joke. Extramarital affairs are increasing. People are taking it very lightly, and they take it as a very proud thing to have an extramarital relationship. So we just want to request you to tell us and guide us on how to deal with these issues. And these problems of relationships are leading the children, especially the teenagers, into drug problems also.
This is a question relating to the social problem. So you should ask it to some expert in sociologists. As a Buddhist monk, I can't give any appropriate suggestion how to protect the marriage institutions or increase the population. As I mentioned before, the basic human value, basic human ethics, human nature is improved. That will make an effort for the good relation between the marriage institution as well. And the dark problem is also a side effect of the modern way of life. If your education system is improved and the relationship between teacher, parent, students are improved, the dark problem can be resolved gradually. Cannot be enforced ban on the dark, but a mindset shall have to be developed through learning, through cooperation, so that no one should indulge into dark and other things. So all these are interrelated with the education system, and when you seriously pay attention to the process of learning itself, then all these problems can be taken care of. Thank you. I think there's some other program.